Ladies and gentlemen, respected guests, and my dear friends, have you ever noticed that the loudest voice in your life is not the world outside, but the voice inside your own mind? The words we speak to ourselves are powerful. They shape our identity, our confidence, our decisions, and ultimately our destiny. We often speak to others with kindness. We encourage our friends, we support our family, we motivate the people around us. But when we look into the mirror, we become our biggest critic. We say things like, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, nothing will change for me. And slowly, these words begin to define how we see ourselves. The truth is very simple. Your mind believes what you repeatedly tell it. If you tell yourself you are weak, your confidence starts to shrink. If you tell yourself you're capable, your courage begins to grow. The human mind is an extraordinary instrument, capable of constructing our greatest successes or our deepest setbacks. And at the center of this power lies the way we talk to ourselves. Every day, from the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep, there is a continuous internal dialogue taking place in the background of our minds. This self-talk shapes our identity, influences our emotions, and determines the decisions we make. When we repeatedly tell ourselves that we are capable, deserving, and strong, our mind begins to align with that belief. It supports us, motivates us, and energizes us to take action. However, when we constantly speak to ourselves in negativity, doubt, or defeat, our mind starts to accept that as truth. Over time, these repeated thoughts become core beliefs that influence how we see ourselves and how we behave in the world. It is important to understand that the mind does not filter what we say to it. It does not evaluate whether our statements are right or wrong. It simply absorbs and accepts. If you say, I am confident and able to achieve my goals, your mind will begin to strengthen the mindset needed to prove that true. If you tell yourself, I am not good enough, your mind will also work to reinforce that belief, making you hesitate, step back, and limit your own abilities. This is why it is said that the mind believes what you tell it most often. Words are not just sounds, they carry emotional weight and energetic influence. Self-talk creates a mental atmosphere, and that atmosphere affects your mood, performance, relationships, and overall happiness. Many people underestimate the influence of internal language because it happens silently, hidden from the outside world. But it is the silent thoughts that determine whether we walk into life with courage or with fear. When challenges come, the person who has conditioned their mind to speak positively will say, I can handle this, I will find a way. That person moves forward, learns, adapts, and grows. Meanwhile, the person who has developed negative self-talk will say, this is too hard, I will fail. And that thought alone is enough to stop progress. Nothing external has changed, only the words spoken inside the mind. This demonstrates that self-talk is not just psychology. It is the foundation of personal success and emotional resilience. Positive self-talk is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing language that inspires growth rather than fear. It is about speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you care deeply about. If your best friend came to you feeling discouraged, you would not say, you are worthless and incapable. You would encourage them, remind them of their strengths, and help them see new possibilities. Yet, many of us deny ourselves the same compassion. Learning to talk to yourself with kindness is not self-indulgence, it is emotional discipline. It takes awareness to catch the negative messages we repeat unconsciously. It takes courage to replace them with empowering ones. To begin transforming your self-talk, start by paying attention to the tone and words you use when speaking to yourself. Notice how you react when you make a mistake, face criticism, or feel uncertain. In those moments, choose language that uplifts, supports, and strengthens. Say, I am learning, I am improving, I am capable. With repeated practice, your internal voice becomes your greatest source of motivation. The world will always have challenges, opinions, and pressures, but the voice inside you will determine whether you stand tall or whether you shrink. The mind is always listening, so speak to yourself with intention, clarity, and confidence. Your self-talk is not just a reflection of who you are, it is the architect of who you can become. Replacing self-doubt with self-confidence is one of the most transformative shifts a person can make in life. Self-doubt is often not born from reality, but from repeated fear-based thoughts and past experiences that we have allowed to define us. It shows up quietly, sometimes disguised as hesitation, uncertainty, or an unwillingness to try something new. It whispers things like, "You are not ready," "Others are better than you," or "You will fail." This internal resistance is not a sign that we are incapable. It is simply a sign that we have been conditioned to underestimate our potential. Confidence, on the other hand, is not the absence of challenges or mistakes. It is a belief that no matter what happens, we have the ability to learn, evolve, and rise. Confidence is not something that magically appears. It is built one choice at a time. It grows each time we push ourselves to step out of comfort, try something new, or take responsibility for our own growth. When we say, "I can't," we close doors before we even explore what's behind them. But when we choose to say, "I will try," we open pathways for possibilities to enter our lives. Many extraordinary individuals who achieved greatness were not born confident. They faced fear, rejection, failures, and uncertainty, just like everyone else. But they made one simple decision. They refused to let self-doubt be the final voice that guided their life. The problem is not that we lack ability. It is that we have been trained to focus more on our shortcomings than our strengths. From childhood, people often hear more criticism than encouragement. Gradually, they internalize the idea that they are somehow not enough. This belief becomes a barrier that limits growth. To break this pattern, we must consciously shift the internal dialogue. Replace thoughts like "I'm afraid to fail" with "Every failure teaches me something valuable." Replace "I don't think I can do this" with "I may not have mastered it yet, but I am capable of learning." Replacing self-doubt does not require pretending to have confidence. It simply requires a willingness to challenge the negative voice that tries to hold you back. When you choose to believe in your ability to improve, you begin to act differently. You take steps forward instead of standing still. You begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Confidence is most powerful when it comes from within, not from external validation. External praise, approval, or recognition may feel good, but it does not create lasting security. The strongest confidence is built when we look at ourselves, acknowledge our imperfections, and still say, "I am worthy, I am growing, and I trust myself." This type of confidence remains steady even when others doubt us, when we face setbacks, or when everything seems uncertain. The key to building true self-confidence lies in consistent action. Every time you choose to try, you weaken the grip of self-doubt. Every time you push forward despite fear, you expand the boundaries of your potential. Confidence grows when you make decisions without always needing reassurance. It grows when you forgive your past mistakes instead of replaying them. It grows when you honor your progress rather than comparing yourself to others. Comparing your journey to someone else's timeline only steals your peace and minimizes your growth. Everyone's path is different, and everyone evolves at their own pace. Replacing self-doubt with self-confidence is a lifelong practice, not a one-time shift. It requires patience, self-awareness, and courage, but the reward is profound. When you choose to trust yourself, you unlock a version of yourself that is stronger, more resilient, and more capable than you ever imagined. You begin to move through life with clarity, direction, and purpose. And with each confident step, you move closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Shifting from a victim mentality to a victor mentality is a powerful transformation that begins inside the mind long before any external change occurs. A victim mindset occurs when we believe that life is happening to us, that circumstances control us, and that we are powerless to influence the outcome. This mindset focuses on blame, comparison, and helplessness. It repeatedly asks questions like, why is this happening to me? Or why do others have it easier? When we hold on to this mindset, we become trapped in our own thoughts, and even small challenges begin to feel overwhelming. On the other hand, a victor mentality recognizes that challenges are a natural part of life and that every difficulty carries within it an opportunity to grow, strengthen character, and rise to a higher level of understanding and capability. A victor does not deny that pain, failure, or disappointment exist. Instead, they look at these challenges as stepping stones rather than barriers. This mindset begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of asking why something negative happened, the victor asks, what can I learn from this? And how can this experience shape me into a stronger person? This change in internal dialogue changes the emotional response and behavior that follow. When we stop seeing ourselves as powerless and begin to recognize our ability to influence our own lives, we take back control. The world may not always be fair, and life may not always give us what we expected, but how we respond determines who we become. It is important to understand that a victim mentality often comes from past experiences. Times when we did not have control or when we felt unheard or unsupported. Those memories can leave emotional traces that influence how we react in the present. But what happened in the past does not have to dictate what we choose today. The mind is capable of learning new patterns, thoughts, and beliefs. Every moment is a chance to choose empowerment over helplessness. The victors of life are not those who never struggled, but those who decided not to let the struggle define their destiny. Taking responsibility is one of the defining traits of a victor. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that goes wrong. It means acknowledging that your response is always your choice. This understanding gives you strength. Instead of waiting for circumstances to change, the victor changes from within. They recognize that growth often comes disguised as discomfort, and that strength is built through resilience. When something challenging happens, the victor mentality focuses on solutions, not problems. It directs energy towards progress, rather than dwelling on what cannot be changed. Another key aspect of shifting to a victor mindset is self-belief. Believing in your ability to overcome challenges does not mean you will never struggle. It means you trust that you can get through the struggle. When you trust yourself, you stop fearing setbacks. You begin to understand that falling is part of learning, and failure is simply feedback guiding you toward improvement. The victor mentality embraces patience. It acknowledges that meaningful growth takes time and that persistence is stronger than perfection. Surrounding yourself with the right environment also matters. People who think like victims tend to reinforce each other's limitations, while those who think like victors inspire growth. Choose influences that uplift you and challenge you to aim higher. Your mindset is shaped not only by your thoughts, but also by the company you keep, the conversations you allow, and the beliefs you nurture daily. Ultimately, moving from a victim mindset to a victor mindset is a journey of conscious choice. It is about standing up and saying, I am stronger than my circumstance. I am not defined by what happened to me. I define myself by how I rise. This shift does not just change how we see life, it changes how we live it. Progress being more important than perfection is a principle that reshapes the way we approach growth, learning, and achievement. Perfection often appears attractive because it promises flawlessness, certainty, and admiration. However, in reality, perfection is rarely achievable, and the constant pursuit of it can create fear, procrastination, and self-criticism. Many individuals hold themselves back not because they lack talent or opportunities, but because they are afraid of making mistakes or not meeting an ideal standard. This fear creates hesitation, preventing them from taking the first step. Progress, however, is rooted in movement. It values improvement, consistency, and personal development rather than an impossible expectation of flawlessness. Every person who has achieved something meaningful did not start with mastery. They started with effort. Progress respects the effort. It recognizes that growth happens gradually through steady practice and persistent dedication. Perfection, on the contrary, demands immediate results and zero errors, which is unrealistic for any human being. When someone focuses on being perfect, even small setbacks feel like failures. But when someone is committed to progress, setbacks become part of the process. They are lessons, adjustments, and guidance points that show us how to improve. Instead of breaking confidence, challenges help build resilience. It is also important to understand that real mastery is developed slowly. A musician does not play a symphony on the first day. An athlete does not win championships without months of repetitive training. A student does not become knowledgeable overnight. Progress honors the journey by acknowledging every step forward, no matter how small. This approach encourages a mindset of patience and discipline. It teaches us to stay committed to our goals even when results are not visible immediately. When we value progress, we learn to enjoy the growth process itself, rather than anxiously waiting for the final outcome. Focusing on progress also helps reduce comparison. Perfection often leads people to compare themselves to others who seem more experienced, skilled, or successful. This comparison can become discouraging, making it easy to forget that every person's journey is different. When the goal is progress, the only comparison that matters is who you were yesterday versus who you are today. This shift in perspective brings clarity and confidence. It allows individuals to grow at their own pace without feeling pressured to match someone else's timeline. Another crucial aspect of prioritizing progress is the role of self-compassion. When we aim for progress, we accept that mistakes are natural. We give ourselves the grace to learn and evolve. This does not mean settling for mediocrity. It means recognizing that excellence is achieved through repeated effort, reflection, and continuous refinement. Perfection blocks creativity because it creates fear of being judged or criticized. Progress nurtures creativity because it allows room for exploration, experimentation, and improvement. When we allow ourselves to try, we open the door for innovation and growth. Progress encourages taking action. Perfection encourages waiting. Many dreams remain unfulfilled because people wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions. In reality, progress begins the moment we take even the smallest step. Whether it is learning a new skill, starting a project, or working on personal habits, movement is what creates momentum. Once momentum is created, it becomes easier to continue growing. Progress builds confidence with each small achievement. Over time, these small achievements accumulate into remarkable transformation. To embrace progress, one must be willing to be a beginner, to practice consistently, and to stay patient. The journey may not always be smooth, but every step is strengthening your abilities, character, and understanding. When you look back, you will realize that the effort you invested mattered far more than the pursuit of appearing perfect. Choosing progress means choosing growth, and growth is what leads to lasting success, fulfillment, and personal excellence. Celebrating your strengths rather than focusing on your weaknesses is a powerful shift in mindset that can significantly influence how you perceive yourself and how you show up in the world. Many individuals spend a large portion of their lives examining what they lack, skills they do not have, qualities they believe are insufficient, mistakes they have made, or areas where they feel others are better. This habit of dwelling on inadequacy does not inspire growth. Instead, it creates a sense of limitation. When you constantly highlight your weaknesses, you unintentionally reinforce the belief that you are incomplete or incapable. But when you choose to acknowledge and celebrate your strengths, you empower yourself to operate from a place of confidence, clarity, and purpose. Everyone possesses unique abilities, talents, and qualities that contribute to their identity. These strengths may not always look dramatic or extraordinary, yet they hold value and influence. Some people are naturally patient, some have leadership qualities, some are deeply empathetic, some are creative thinkers, and others are exceptional problem solvers. Strengths come in different forms and can be developed over time. The challenge arises when individuals overlook these strengths because they seem too ordinary or because they are comparing themselves to someone else's abilities. Comparison often blinds us from recognizing our own capabilities. It directs our attention outward rather than inward, creating a mindset that says, "I am not enough," simply because someone else appears to excel in an area we do not. To shift away from this mindset, it is essential to develop self-awareness. Reflect on moments when you have succeeded, even in small ways. Consider times when others have praised or appreciated something about you. Recognize the qualities that come naturally to you. These are often your strengths, even if you have never labeled them as such. When you identify and acknowledge these strengths, you begin to see yourself more accurately and more positively. This does not mean ignoring your weaknesses. It means allowing your strengths to lead, while you continue to work on areas that require improvement without self-judgment. Celebrating strengths builds confidence, and confidence leads to action. When you believe in your abilities, you take initiative. You express your ideas more freely. You approach challenges with resilience instead of fear. You begin to trust yourself. This creates momentum. The more you use your strengths, the stronger they become. People who consistently operate from their strengths are not only more successful, they are also more fulfilled. They engage in work and environments where their natural abilities contribute to meaningful outcomes. They feel aligned, purposeful, and empowered. On the other hand, dwelling on weaknesses often leads to hesitation and self-doubt. Weaknesses are not indicators of failure or inadequacy. They simply represent areas for growth. However, growth becomes difficult when the focus is solely on what is lacking. It is important to understand that no individual is meant to excel in everything. Strengths and weaknesses are part of being human. Rather than striving to eliminate every weakness, the goal is to cultivate strengths so effectively that they guide your direction and identity. Another important aspect of celebrating strengths is expressing gratitude for who you are. Gratitude is not just about appreciating things outside of yourself. It is also about recognizing and valuing your internal qualities. When you appreciate your strengths, you develop a healthier sense of self-worth. You begin to interact with others from a place of confidence rather than insecurity. You become more compassionate towards yourself and more supportive of your own growth. Ultimately, choosing to focus on your strengths is a decision to honor your individuality. It allows you to move through life with a mindset of empowerment rather than deficiency. It helps you realize that you already have within you the qualities needed to progress, achieve, and evolve. By celebrating your strengths, you learn to lead your life with optimism, resilience, and self-belief. This mindset does not just change how you think, it changes how you live. Your self-talk creates your reality because the words you repeat to yourself become the beliefs that shape your actions, your identity, and your outcomes. The human mind is deeply influenced by internal dialogue. It is constantly listening, absorbing, and forming meaning from the thoughts we feed it. When the inner voice speaks with confidence, encouragement, and clarity, the mind responds by opening pathways of progress. When that same inner voice speaks with fear, doubt, and negativity, the mind begins to limit your potential. In this way, self-talk is not simply a mental habit. It is the very foundation of how you experience life. The reality you live in is not just determined by external events. It is shaped by the interpretation your mind applies to those events. Two people can face the same situation, yet one sees opportunity while the other sees failure. The difference lies in the conversation happening inside. If you tell yourself that you are capable of overcoming challenges, you begin to act in ways that support growth. You take initiative, remain persistent, and continue finding solutions. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you are not good enough, you begin to withdraw, hesitate, and avoid taking risks. The external world remains the same, but your inner world completely transforms your response and, as a result, your reality. Self-talk influences emotions as much as it influences behavior. Positive, supportive inner language can create a sense of calm, motivation, and resilience. It allows you to navigate difficulties with composure and confidence. Negative self-talk, on the other hand, fuels stress, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. It creates a mental environment where every challenge feels heavier than it actually is. Over time, this begins to impact not only your emotional state, but also your physical well-being. This is why becoming aware of your internal dialogue is essential. You cannot change what you are unaware of. Your self-talk forms patterns, and those patterns become beliefs. Beliefs determine how you act. Actions determine your results. Results reinforce your beliefs. This creates a continuous cycle. When you intentionally change one part of this cycle, your self-talk, you begin to shift the entire direction of your life. By choosing thoughts that encourage growth rather than fear, you build a mindset that supports success rather than sabotages it. Changing self-talk does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is easy. It means recognizing your ability to respond to challenges with strength. For example, instead of saying, "I always fail," you can say, "I am learning and improving each time." Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," you can say, "I will do my best and grow through this experience." This does not just sound positive. It triggers your mind to approach the situation differently. Your brain begins searching for ways to succeed instead of reasons to retreat. Another important aspect of self-talk is consistency. A single positive thought cannot undo years of negative reinforcement. The mind changes gradually through repetition. Just as negative beliefs were formed slowly, positive beliefs are also built over time. Every day becomes an opportunity to strengthen your inner voice. Over time, your self-talk becomes more supportive, more empowering, and more aligned with your goals. The more thoughtfully you speak to yourself, the more consciously you shape the direction of your life. When your internal dialogue is aligned with confidence, clarity, and encouragement, you create a mental environment where growth feels natural and possible. You no longer rely on external validation to feel capable. Instead, you trust in your own ability to rise. Your reality shifts, not because the world changes, but because you change. The voice inside you becomes your strength, your guide, and your source of courage. And that internal transformation eventually reflects in every area of your life. My friends, change does not start outside. It starts inside. The world will treat you the way you treat yourself. So choose your words wisely. Create a voice inside you that lifts you, guides you, and strengthens you. Because when you change your self-talk, you don't just change your mood or your day, you change your entire life. Thank you.